Okay, so it's starting.
Okay, so we're starting the meeting now. This is the first monthly membership installment. I thought it was a good idea to do it from now until the end of the year, so that way we can really firm up all our business around the committee work, and also making sure that we have the sessions that we want, and everything like for the IE workshop and other network business. So I thought it was a good way for us to have a touch point, because historically we just typically meet at the conference, have the annual meeting, maybe see on emails. And so I've gotten a lot of requests for different ways to connect, and I thought this was a good way to do that. So that's why we're having these meetings. The schedule for the rest of the monthly membership meetings, I'll send out in the minutes again, but pretty much it's like today, Sunday, October 18th, Wednesday, November 18th, and Wednesday, December 16th. And the meeting times and all of that will be in, I sent that in an email. I'll send that information out again. I'll start by saying also that before we get into introductions, Dr. Morena Tartini was supposed to present today, but she's not feeling very well. So what she did was she recorded like a presentation for us to consume, and then gave PowerPoints and some information. So I'll send that out when I send out the meeting minutes, and then we'll pick up on the discussion at the next membership meeting. So my vision for these meetings are, we do the introduction and welcome. We do an IE showcase where we feature some kind of researchers, and they give us like a little presentation, and then we can have like conversation around the topics in which they present, and IE like in all of its complexities. We talk a little bit about some TripleSP business, and then we talk about other IE network business. So there's a lot of activity on the Facebook groups. There's the Nordic folks, there's Australians, there's this, that. So we can learn about all things IE. And my vision for this was about 90 minutes, because depending on the discussions, it can go really long. But for today's meeting, because we don't have our featured speaker and we kind of have some business to get to, I was hoping to kind of run it according to that agenda, and then leave the last few minutes, like 10, 15 minutes for open discussion, and then end the meeting in about 45 minutes at 3 p.m. So that's kind of the vision and sort of frame in which we're working. It can change. I'm open, I'm not that rigid, but I think having some structure is important so that we kind of keep it going. And so now my name is Lanisha. I didn't introduce myself at the beginning. I'm the chair of the IE division within TripleSP. I'm based in Washington, DC. So folks can introduce themselves, just say your name, who you are, whatever else you want, and then where you are in the world. I'll pass the mic to Lauren.
Okay, I'm Lauren Eastwood, and let's see, my position is at SUNY Plattsburgh, the State University of New York College at Plattsburgh, New York, which is almost in Canada, but not quite close enough. Except right now I'm in Massachusetts, so I'm at my parents' place right now in Massachusetts. So that's where in the world I am. Who wants to go next? Suzanne?
Okay. I don't know. I am a retired professor from Arizona State University. So now I guess I'll call myself an independent scholar. I don't know what you call yourself. Anyway, I'm sorry, my phone keeps beeping because a fire just broke out near my sister's house, and that's why I muted it. Anyway, and it's just going on and on. Anyway, so that's, I'm a co-author with Paul Luken on the handbook of Belgrave Handbook of Institutional Ethnography, which will come out in, at least the publisher says, the online book will come out in December. And depending upon where you look in the world, it is early January to February for the hardbound copy. Anyway, thank you.
I can go next. I'm Janet Rankin, currently with the Faculty of Nursing at the University of Calgary. Very happy at the moment to be on a scholarship leave that started in July and takes me through till January 1st, which has given me the opportunity to come to Victoria to work with Marie, who is my collaborator on a book that we're co-authoring currently, where we're looking at the broad transformations in healthcare, and in particular transformation in nurses' work that happens inside digital planfulness and the electronic health record, and the capacity for knowledge and information to move differently throughout the organization inside digital practices, and also looking at how the hospital is working to develop improvements that arise in nurses' work, and we're describing those improvements. So we're currently just deeply, very just puzzling through, having deep conversations and challenging each other and trying to just hatch out this book. So it's an absorbing process, and that's what I'm doing right now.
So I can go next, I guess. So I'm Paul Luken, and I'm also retired from the University of West Georgia, and that is still where I am. I'm out here in the forest of West Georgia, and Suzanne talked about the work we're doing, and it's in the publisher's hands mostly now, so it's somebody else's work primarily at this point. And since I retired, one thing that I've gotten interested in and has been matters related to elections and voting, and studying it primarily experientially. Being a poll worker, working on campaigns, things like that. A lot of the campaign work, though, is died down a lot. It's all gone virtual. We don't knock on doors anymore or anything like that. But the voting activity is still very interesting where I live. It's a very hot topic. And even last night, they discovered that the ballot marking machines weren't working properly. so with elections coming up, it is a very hot issue around here, and just a lot of mistrust about everything and the like. So I'm anxious to be a poll worker again in November at the election, see how, what it feels like, to be there and who shows up, that sort of thing. Anyway, so that's my interest, a lot of my interest right now. So that's that.
I'll go next. My name is Sheryl Zarowski. I'm in Qualicum Beach, British Columbia, just across the pond from Katie, and I guess just up island from Janet, as we say. I am officially an independent scholar. There's an organization in Canada called the Canadian Association of Independent Scholars, and they happen to be based out of Vancouver. So when I ended my affiliation with universities, which brings a great deal of academic freedom, I must say, I joined this organization and am pursuing some research projects on my own.
What are you researching, Sheryl?
I'm working with Lanisha on something that's pretty mechanical. It's called a scoping review, and we're trying to take a look at 50 years worth of IE dissertations and to take a look at what that may show us. The other project involves First Nations people in my home province of Saskatchewan, and a piece of legislation that abrogates their inherent rights to hunt under their treaties. And so it's large text that preceded and created this particular piece of legislation. All in the wake of the Colton Boushie trial. You may remember, those of you in particular who are Canadian, a First Nations man accidentally, I'll put that in quotes, shot by a white farmer in rural Saskatchewan. And it was quite a flashpoint both in our province and across the country. And this legislation I'm trying to trace as a direct offshoot of the results of that court case.
Cheryl, that was, there was an article in this morning's New York Times, and that was mentioned, that case was mentioned, and it was in relationship to something I have not watched on Netflix, a Canadian production, and apparently the director has started kind of, I don't know, workshop discussing Indigenous rights that is taught at the University of Saskatchewan. I believe that was the university. Anyway, so yes, okay.
It's a wonderful film if anyone gets a chance to check it out. It's called We Will Stand Up. And the first name of the producer or director starts with a T. I think it's Tasha, and the last name is Hubbard. It's a really excellent film from the standpoint of the family of the murdered Indian person and the aftermath of the trial, or the trial and its aftermath.
Okay.
Well worth watching.
Is it a documentary, Sheryl?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Was everyone able to introduce themselves?
Yeah, I'm Katie, but I said a little bit in the beginning.
Oh,
so
yeah.
nice to
Can
meet
you go again, Katie? Because we
sure.
weren't recording. So
Oh,
for the
yeah,
people
that's
who
right.
aren't here.
Okay, sure. Yes, my name is Katie Krollevsky. I'm a PhD student. I'm studying at the University of British Columbia in the Animal Welfare Program. My PhD dissertation is about animal welfare, law enforcement, and sheltering, and how this organizes the work that people working in shelters and enforcement officers do in British Columbia, but I'm taking the standpoint of animals that for various reasons come to be involved with the SPCA. I guess they're the main organization that does Columbia and also enforces the provincial animal protection law. So nice to meet everyone.
Awesome. Paul, did everyone introduce themselves? I'm sorry, I didn't track every person. Welcome. And for the folks who are watching this, we hope now that you have the schedule, we can plan and you can kind of pop in. What I hope to do is send an email. I have to do it in a way that protects the privacy of the emails. But once I figure that out, my plan is to send a calendar invite that has all the information, so you don't have to go through your emails to find it if you're email averse like me. You could just go to your phone, to your calendar, and look and see, okay, we have the IE meeting. You press the button and it goes to Zoom. So that's my goal, but I think I have some limitations around privacy because I have to make sure that not everybody can have everybody's emails from the distribution list. So the next item on the agenda is to have the IE showcase, which today we will not have because the presenter is not feeling well. And Dr. Tartini, she's over in Belgium. She recorded a video, not sure, she said she wasn't feeling very well, so there's a caveat there, but she did want to present the information for us to consume and then maybe have some discussions about via email or at a Facebook group or in some space, or just notes or whatever. And then at the next meeting, we'll pick up on this topic. I'll be sure when I send out the minutes to send out her presentation and the video so that folks can view it. The third agenda item has to do with TripleSP business, and I have quite a few things related to that. The first item is about the IE workshop and the costs associated with the workshop. By November 1st, I'm supposed to provide this information to the TripleSP business office. And I think I'm trying to pull up how much they charged last year. So last year it was $50. I think it was $50 for unemployed students and $75 for if you are a professional. This upcoming year, I wanted to have a two-tier kind of system. This is my idea, and then we can open it up for discussion. I wanted to have a system where if you're in person, you pay, if you don't have lunch, you pay $80. If you do have lunch, you pay $100. If you're employed. If you're unemployed, you pay $50 flat, and it includes the food. But that's if you're in person. And then virtually, you pay $60 if you're employed. And then if you're not employed or a student, then you just pay $30. Because we're gonna have people in person and virtual if, we can meet in person. So I didn't know what you folks thought about that. This is important because historically, these IE workshops are kind of like a revenue generator for the pot of money that we have in our division bank account. And that helps us provide, pay for the TripleSP pays for the student awards, but the pot of money, we have some in there. It allows us to do things that we can control, vote on it and all of this as a division. And so it could pay for a stipend for somebody, or it could pay for whatever we decide. And so, yeah, it should pay for itself. We get some monies from the TripleSP group, but anyway, these fees are to help provide money to that pot, and then we can choose to do with it what we want. There are other past IE chairs who can speak more to that, but this is kind of my thinking, like have a two-tier fee, in person versus virtual. And then if you're in person, we just do a gourmet lunch and collect all the dietary information, provide it so that we don't waste time. People don't have to go out. It's like served to them at the place where we have the workshop. So I'll stop there to get feedback from other people. So.
Have you checked with Michelle for how much that would cost? Because I know the food tends to be, like, we just did coffee and snacks before because it was still ridiculously expensive. So I'm just wondering if the goal is to break even, or like, I don't know if you've already investigated the costs.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point, because I was going to just, I forgot that we can't have food delivered there from somewhere else. We have to go with the hotel food because it's at the hotel. So I have to check with her about the price.
Yeah, I can say
Oh, sorry.
from the previous years, from when we first started this, that part of the money that we were allowed to open that account when I was the div chair was because the expenses of running the workshop, getting things like whiteboards into the rooms and getting things like computer outlets into the room where we hold the workshop, there were costs involved with that. And we didn't want to owe the TripleSP money that we didn't have. So we built a cushion. So we charged a little more than the costs in order that the chair wouldn't end up having to hold the bill for, the div chair wouldn't be holding the bill for these expenses of running the workshop. And then as that little nest egg started to grow, it actually allowed us to pay some of the travel and accommodation expenses to bring retired, i.e. seasoned, i.e. folks who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to come, who weren't employed. So we would subsidize travel and accommodation. And that's in part to go out for lunch, because the food expenses were they just ate into the money so significantly. And we prioritized the capacity to bring people who otherwise, or subsidize people who otherwise wouldn't afford to be able to come to the workshop. And also for the presenters, because sometimes we just needed to help people. If we were relying on them to be really part of the workshop infrastructure, then we would subsidize them to get there in order to be a part of that infrastructure.
Got it. I think someone else was gonna say something.
Well, I guess that was, I mean, Janet really covered it. I think that would be my suggestion, is trying to keep the costs as low as possible so that people can attend the workshop, because I know people's budgets are really out the window. Like our campus isn't giving any travel money anymore, and funding, but so yeah, we don't have any. But so I think this is going to be a problem with TripleSP as well. You know, a lot of people are you know, cutting down on their professional organizations and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I guess I don't know like how much planning you've already done, but my suggestion would be to have people sort of pay a sort of the lowest possible fee so that they could still attend and cover our costs, but not include the food with that, because it just gets so expensive.
Got it. So I'm thinking,
it's not the same, like what you're getting for what you're paying is just,
it's not worth it. Yeah, with the hotels, I understand that. Because they have to add on the expense of tip. They have to add on all these other expenses, and it just makes it skyrocket. So you think you're eating a meal and it costs normally like $15, but afterwards it's $35-40 per person. Right. Which it's like, well, that's too much. So okay, I like to eat food. So I think when I was writing this, I was probably hungry. So I was thinking, I like to eat the food when I'm at something. So I want to have the food for the people. We save time, but it's not going to save us money. So let's cut that out.
I mean, I liked the coffee break that we did before, because that gives people coffee and food to start the day. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I think sometimes people show up expecting there to be anyway. But I think the lunch thing on their own would be fine.
Okay, got it. And the other thing is related to the coffee. I just remember the last chair talking about the ridiculousness of the coffee expense and how she cut it to where, you know, the workshop ended at 3 p.m. and I think she only had coffee from 9 to 12 p.m. But then after lunch, there was a hump and people needed that coffee, tea, whatever, and they didn't have it. And I know that from the survey that we did, like that was one of the feedbacks. It was like, you should have something for us all day. And so, and nobody wants the old coffee, because the beauty of the hotel is like you're paying for the service, they replenish it. So nobody wants to drink the 8-hour, 6-hour coffee that's lukewarm in the afternoon. So I think those are considerations, but I will check with Michelle on the price to figure out that cost, and then also find out how much money we have in our account, and then see what the lowest available fee is that we could charge. I think it shouldn't be any less than previous years, but right. I feel like if you're gonna be virtual we never did. So maybe instead of 60-30, it could be 40-20, because, you know, $20 is a few coffees, maybe a couple pounds of coffee. Showing my biases here for what I like to consume. But, you know, like, I think
but Lanisha, don't forget that the Zoom is going to require technology, right? Like, so,
yeah.
And so I think that you should probably inquire from Michelle what the hotel costs are, because then the hotel would send you lists of this is what it costs for coffee, you know, and then you could develop the budget based on the real costs rather than estimating them, you know, imagining them.
Got it. I have like, yeah, I got it. Okay, got it. So that's easy for me to do. I think I know the cost for the coffee because that was a really big deal, but I don't know the cost for the other things. So, was there anything else on this topic? I think there's more to find out and then to decide from there.
I like your idea about having it as a hybrid to really be able to get folks who can't attend in person to be able to offer Zoom. And then, of course, we'd be having to figure out time changes, differences, but as to who could attend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nisha, because I do know one year I was going to be part of a workshop. They had asked me to do a presentation, and it ended up at the last minute I couldn't be there. And so I really like the fact that the virtual is tied into that. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just need facilitators for the in-person and virtual, and I think I'll be the virtual facilitator. I don't know. The committee will decide all the logistics of all of this, but that's the main idea, because I realize with the technology, it's not just going to run on its own. I mean, it's going to require if people putting questions in the chat, depending on how many people are there. I mean, we could have a lot of people. I'm looking at these workshops around the world. They have a huge turnout. It's selling out. So it could get unwieldy pretty quickly if we don't have a proper facilitation. And I'm sorry, someone else was going to say something.
I do have a question, because I wasn't there last year at the meeting, so I don't really know who are the members of committees and things like that, and I wondered if maybe you might include some of that information with this mail out. Who are the committee members, for the workshop, for example, or the student awards committee, for the activist committee, for these various committees, and I'm just like not aware of them.
Yeah, so that's in the meeting minutes from last time. I have 6 pages of minutes, and it's for each topic, it's underneath. So for example, the IE workshop committee includes myself, Colin, Rashmi, Lauren Eastwood, Rebecca Lund. So like it's in the previous, but I can call it out like in the email. So, cause there's a lot of information in there that I didn't highlight it in any way. The student award committee, June, the previous winner from last year, myself and Marie Campbell, we're looking for more people to join that. And then the awards committee, I think, let's see, the other awards, the activist award was called, right? That's Marge, Suzanne, Naomi Nichols are on that committee. So I will put it more obvious, and then also put the request like, hey, if you're a new member, if you want to join, like here are the people, like join us. And then we need to have I need to do some work there, because these committees need to meet at some point, and everything's based on deadlines, for TripleSP. And I don't really know what those deadlines are right now, or I'm sure I know, or I have the information, but I have to put it all together. So I thank you for pinging me to do that, because it is kind of like a shepherded process. The committees exist, but they haven't done anything. And they probably, if the communication of that information is in these notes, who really looked at it and who really, there's a lot of information in these notes. So thank you, Suzanne.
Okay, yeah, because I do know TripleSP has some deadlines, and things have to be announced, and we've got to come together in terms of when, nominations for various things, and so that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Related to that is the nomination of the next chair. Colin has agreed to serve in that capacity, and his runner-up is Frank. So all I need to do for that is send their bios to the front office, and I think that deadline's coming up. But we, before we were trying to find the person, I would have to send out these emails. I talk to all these people. So now we have that sorted out, that's done. And the next deadline is 10/1, and that's for the workshop description, which I think I have, and just this around the monies. So over the next few days, I can get the numbers and then kind of run the budget numbers and see what, like, I think last year they broke even, but I don't really have that analysis right now. So I can ask for all of that from the TripleSP office, and then I can have a very informed decision about what the actuals should be, and then bump that against how much money do we have. Because from the numbers I remember seeing, we have a couple $1,000s in our bank account, but we don't really use the money other than, I guess, historically what Janet mentioned it was used for. Because if we broke even with the workshop, it's, maybe, yeah. So I have to look at all of those things, but yeah. Was there anything else on this topic of the workshop? Did anyone else have any input, feedback, suggestions? If not, then I think I don't think there was anything else related to the TripleSP business in general. There are a couple things related to what I'm calling other IE network business. Eric, so in the European Facebook group, there was some discussion about wanting to have information, like discussions or hearing from IE scholars. So how do we connect with each other? Maybe folks have been doing it in presentations of various forms, like Naomi just had a talk with the Australians that was recorded and sent out. There are talks happening virtually, but I've had this private idea about maybe there should be an IE podcast, because then we could do recordings, like you can get Dorothy on some of them, and like everybody, right, from their different perspectives and work, and then that could be like memorialized in the podcast and all the platforms, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. You download it, you can listen to it, and you don't have to be at your computer. It's more distributed, so it comes to life, right? And you're thinking about this while you're riding your bike or walking or whatever. And so I mentioned this idea in an email, and Eric said that he and some of his students have been talking about this. And then I mentioned the idea on the Facebook group, and then it turned out a few people over in Europe were having that conversation, and some in Australia, and also. So then I said, okay, well, we should all come together to figure out, because what is a little bit annoying is that we've historically had one Facebook group, and then we have another Facebook group that's talking about the same stuff, and now people are posting in both Facebook groups. I don't know why there are two. And now there's a third Facebook group that is talking about IE stuff. So I'm like, can't we just consolidate some of it? Like, but if the left hand isn't talking to the right hand, it doesn't really know, like maybe people don't know about these other groups. And so what I'm trying to do, and like just to keep tabs on the network and how distributed it is, because it's not very large. And if 30 people are on this one and 250 people, 300 people are on the other one, like we should just combine forces. Like it doesn't make sense to have these disparate things, to my way of thinking. But I also don't have time or effort or energy or interest to join 10 Facebook groups to keep track of IE. Like to keep track of anything, I have no interest in doing that. So one of my personal goals is to just, whatever people decide that they want to do, since I can't control that, then to know it and to like have it all on our page. Because the reality is, if you Google institutional ethnography, TripleSP is going to come up in the top few hits. And then you click on that and it'll take you to our page, our division page. And right now on our division page, you see information about the different scholars, you see our minutes, you see Dorothy's last talk, our last meeting, you see the newsletters. And Paul, I got all the ones back to 2005 or something like this. They should be on there. If you go to the archives and it's not there, please let me know, because I put Michelle on it and their tech people were supposed to do it. And I looked and it looked fine to me, but maybe something's missing and you guys who were there in the beginnings would know. So, you know, there's just a lot of activity, but I think a lot of that activity can be going on that IE TripleSP page. And then if people want to click and join and do all that, they can. But what I'm finding is that all these things are happening over here, over there, everywhere, and people don't know. And so it's important to know, even if someone says, I want to do this group better and I want to control it, then go do it. But communicate it back to the home base so that in our ecosystem, we all know, oh, ISA, they have their stuff over here. AAA this, the Nordic group has this, and we're all kind of talking to each other because we're in the same ecosphere, like ecosystem. So I think that's very important for me in one of my goals, because we can't increase, who are we going to get to join TripleSP? It's the people that are already there and interested in doing it. They might not know we exist or the importance of this group and might not want to join us. And then we might not know that they have something else going on that is totally ripe with people who are interested and want to be down with us, you know? So that's kind of like my thinking. But I wanted to communicate all of that because I've been monitoring it and I just see it kind of getting unwieldy because it's so many things and you have to go find it. It's not clear, like where is all this IE stuff coming from? And we should know. I think we should know that it exists and where it exists. So I'll stop there.
Well, I do think it's an ongoing problem, you know, that in terms of communicating with our community. My hope actually was for these meetings. Like when I came into this meeting today, I was curious about what everybody was doing as their research, and that was part of my incentive to actually tune in today. And so I think that right here, you know, we have a synchronous opportunity to talk to each other. I think any other resolution to the problem would take, well, probably resources, funds, time, and somebody to develop. I'm doing a research project. I'm consulting on a research project right now with a group of nurses in Wyoming, and they're studying a website where women who have polycystic ovary disease go and talk to one another. And there are all sorts of forums on this website and interest groups that the women can go to. And they have, it's a controlled website, so people have to, you know, be admitted into the website. And so I could see a website as solving some of these Facebook problems. Also, I know that there's a lot of people I talk to who are really rejecting social media and Facebook and just wouldn't go onto a Facebook site because of all that represents in terms of Facebook. And so I think you've raised a lot of issues, Lanisha, that I don't necessarily see an easy resolution to without time and resources.
I'm just nodding like it's totally a head scratcher. Because then the people from Greece, there's some contingent in Greece, they're so excited. Oh, I'm so happy that TripleSP is there. And I don't know, they went to some workshop over in the UK and then Now,
Well,
all
you
these
know,
Greek,
when Marie was working, you know, you and I and Marie and Cheryl for a while were working on that web platform that was Marie's idea that and she paid out of her personal funds a web developer to support the Making Change from Below website, and she got it protected as a title for the website. And it did take funds. But we've got the $2,000 or whatever we have sitting in our nest egg. And as an IE div, maybe this is something that we do want to invest in, is a very simple website that would come up along with the TripleSP. So you didn't have to have a membership with the TripleSP, but you could just join a web group that would have global reach rather than having, I mean, people will probably still have their Facebooks, because that's where people are going to have these discussions, but it's absolutely possible to have discussions on websites as well that are not linked to Facebook.
Absolutely. And actually, you know, that Change from Below site still exists. I maintain it myself personally, because I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that next iteration, right? So I didn't want it to just die out. So the domain is still live. It's still up. I cleaned it up a little bit. So we could
consult with Marie, because I think we'd have to, because her worries were about how it might be used when, you know, after she put all that work into it. So we could perhaps change it from her original ideas, but still use the work that's already been put into it, because we do have, as you say, a protected, and we have a framework for a website.
Yeah, just tell her that I haven't been able to circle back with her on that, but let her know that it does exist, and I'm, you know, random people still are trying to sign in, but I don't know who they are. So tell her that.
Okay, I'll tell her.
I have a slightly different, I guess, point of view on the notion of trying to gather in one place all of these initiatives that are sprouting. I sit back and I think, how cool that things are happening outside of the SSSP, and that people in the Nordic region have a network, and that a student a little bit has struck up a reading group. And I guess my point of view is, I don't think we can coordinate and organize those things. I kind of think we should let them continue to develop organically, because the SSSP, while important and certainly our originator organization, I don't think we have the resources or any energy to try and coordinate these various opportunities for IEers to connect elsewhere.
I think that's a very important point, and I 100% agree with you. I think my thing is that do whatever you want, do whatever, it's great. It's more scholarly activity, it's more nerds who are really into IE. I love it, I really do, but I want to know what is happening, and it's hard to keep track. And it's nice, beautiful for my very right brain thing to go into one place and see, wow, IE Nordic people, IE wherever people, oh, let me go click over here, let me go click over there, if that's what I want to do. But you know, right now, or if I know that because I am connected, I'm part of it, I'm actively looking for it. But what if you're new to IE and you don't know, and you're over in Greece, and all you see when you Google is the TripleSP website, and then meanwhile there are these Greek people meeting, but there's a listserv and it's private, and you don't know how to get on there? That would be important to know. And I think that's my point. It's like, do whatever you want. We should be communicating with some central, there should be, I don't know how to articulate it, because it's like, there should be like a repository, I guess, right, of the information. And so when we go to the repository, we can see all the stuff, and then it keeps growing. And that, I feel like, should be the role of TripleSP, not to control it, but to have its pulse, its finger on the pulse. Like, we know, hey, look, we don't control anything. We just know where everything is happening in IE. That's really attractive, because you know that there are the Nordic people, and the UK people, they have a private network, and the Irish people, they're starting to do, I'm saying the Irish people, like, you know what I hope you know, guys know what I mean. In Ireland, they have a whole bunch of folks who are part of the IE. They're creating their own IE network, but it's kind of, it doesn't have an online presence. So how would anybody know that who's not part of it? There are a bunch of people in Ireland who might really love IE, but they're looking over to Australia or over to Canada because that's where all the, maybe everyone thinks, oh, all the IEers are in Canada, because when you look for the US, it's hard to find us. So I think that this is like, you know, the world according to Lanisha, but essentially, I feel very much like we should know. We should just know, not control, but know. Sheryl, I also feel like the more we do our project and the more conversation I'm having about this, it makes me think we're doing an IE of IE, right? Like, which is kind of weird to say, but it's like, who's keeping track of what we, you know, who's tracing like and mapping us and our social organization of the knowledge that we're producing? Like, I mean, that's important. So anyway, I'll stop there.
So one of the ISA, International Sociological Association, that is, members from across the world, I guess. And part of what that newsletter, who currently is being done by Eric, okay, he's a vice president, and I sent it out as secretary treasurer. But much of that announcement goes in that newsletter, and many people in ISA send me information just to send out about a lot of these things. And so, you know, some of that international organization is there. It is not necessarily at TripleSP, is what I'm trying to say. And I would agree, with Janet about, Facebook. I refuse to get on Facebook. And I know a lot of my colleagues here in Arizona feel the same way. And so what, marked, for example, ISA and how to go to those newsletters to be able to read those newsletters might be useful. Lanisha, well, it was through Liza, I believe, that you wrote Liza asking her to distribute the TripleSP meeting and the notes of the TripleSP meeting a few weeks ago. And so, because I'm secretary, treasurer, etc., I send it out. So I sent it out, and I do have to say that a number of scholars in Taiwan, in the UK, and let's see, also in France, a couple of people from France responded back to me. Thank you very much for letting me know about this information. So the International Sociological Association, our division, or it's called a working group, is, often we're disseminating a lot of that international work that people are doing. Eric, for example, has highlighted people's different contributions across the globe. Often he's asked people to write up about their research or publication in that newsletter. And announcements of conferences or networks and things like that often come to me, and I send them out to the membership. Now, one of the things I believe, because of the pandemic and because the meetings were not held in Brazil this year, people left their memberships lapse. I've kept them on my sheet or on my distribution list, only because I think it's important that they get this information. Now, ISA has now a couple of days ago announced that they are going to do an online conference, okay, in February. And seems to me it's going to be a full conference, but set up in a very similar way that the conference in Brazil was set up. You can still submit papers, by the way, until I believe it's December 15th is the deadline to ISA. And will depend upon whether people say they are going to continue to give their presentations. I organized kind of a critical dialogue. It's not called that at ISA. And I haven't heard whether those people will still participate. But I do know several people in a paper session, not that I organized, but I submitted a paper. Several people have already said, yeah, I'll go ahead and get my paper there. So anyway, that's ISA sort of has been a way in which much of this information has been distributed internationally. So although we have no Greek members, Lanisha, at this point, we, at least unless they, get papers at ISA and decide to join the group, our working group, they're not members currently, but many in the UK and New Zealand and Australia, France, Belgium, Norway, many Scandinavian countries are members, okay? Several in Russia, several, I mean, we have a kind of wide distribution.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think the last time I made it, there was like 36 countries. A lot of people in South America, that sort of thing. So anyway, I would go to our website.
Yeah, no, the
okay.
the website is amazing, and also the newsletters, because that's how I learned about Morena Tartini's work. I was looking through the newsletters on the ISA because I was like, oh, I need to join ISA. I'm not a member of that. But then I said, I wonder what happens over at these meetings. And I read the newsletter, and then I found her work. I sent her an email, and we had a conversation. And because I was very curious about her research, because she got this huge, it's hugely funded work to work with single moms, to do research on single moms and how they are navigating social environments over there in Belgium. And so I said, oh, maybe when we come to the TripleSP, she joined TripleSP. I was like, maybe when you come to the membership meetings, we can feature your work. She's very successful in getting the funding. And I know sometimes how you showcase IE it's difficult to get funded sometimes depending on your field or your topic focus. And so I thought it'd be good to feature her. And so, but I learned about her work from the newsletter on the ISA website. I wouldn't have known about her work because it's not my focus area, right? So I think that this is a very rich and lively topic to be continuously discussed. I didn't assign the role of a timekeeper, but we're about 5 minutes over the idea for when I was hoping to end the meeting. Before we have to end, I want to just say thank you so much, Suzanne, for those insights, and then open the floor up for any last minute perspectives, and know that we will continue this conversation later. We can have it online, and we can also pick it back up at the next meeting, because the structure of the meetings will be the same. This is the last topic area, other IE network business. And so I will just make sure it's a topic that we pick up again.
And I need to go, but if people want to stay and chat, I can I'm not going to close out the meeting. But I realize that I'm doing the recording. So is there more business that you would like to have recorded, Lanisha, or?
No, this is the last thing. Like if I'm asking if someone wants to make a last comment, and then we'll end the meeting.
Okay.
Folks, if you're talking, you're on mute. I don't know if someone's talking.
Okay, I'll stop recording and then I will